guys. First of all, turn to your neighbor and tell them, do you know that you're really cool? Like the fact that you're here, do you know you're cool? Let me help you understand how privileged you guys are. Do you know that the only reason you're here is because God chose you? It's not obvious that everyone believes. In fact, believing in God is a privilege. Unless God chooses you, you can't believe in him. Faith doesn't make any sense. Believe in God, believe in a higher being makes sense, but being a Christian doesn't actually make sense. So the fact that you believe in this God means that he has chosen to reveal himself to you so that you can respond to him. Now, let me give you a couple of verses because you're just like, what is she even saying? John chapter 15, verse 16. If you have your Bibles, you can open John 15, 16. And this is literally what it says. So I'm going to read the NIV version. And it says, "You did not choose me. I chose you. And I chose you and sent you out to produce fruit, the kind of fruit that will last. Then my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name." This is Jesus talking to his disciples, and he's just like, it's great that you guys are following me. You think that you chose to follow me? No. I actually chose you. The only thing that you did is respond to my invitation. So, turn to your neighbor and tell them, you're chosen. You might not feel chosen or special, but you're actually very chosen and very special. But let me point out another thing. Jesus is revealing something here to his disciples. He tells them that I didn't choose you. You didn't choose me. I chose you. And my choosing you was not just, I just looked around. I'm like, he has cool hair. I think he should come. I like her swag. I think she should come. He looks like he can lift heavy things, so I think we need one of those people who can lift heavy stuff. This one looks like he has connections, and we probably need connections for things you can come. That's not the reason that Jesus chose them. He chose them because there was a mission that he wanted to send these people on. And what he's telling his disciples applies to us today, that we are chosen, but not just because of vibes. We're chosen because there's a mission that God wants us to go on. You are on mission for God. That's why he chose you. Think about it like this. Let's assume there's a FBI agent. There's an FBI agent who works for, what government do they work for? Random? What government do they work for? FBI. Uganda. Notikona, go kneel down at the corner over there. FBI, what government do they work for? If you say you're an FBI agent, what government do you represent? You represent the US government. Now, you're representing the US government means that there are things that you're supposed to be doing because you're associated with that government. They don't just wake up one day, okay, they shouldn't. You could because free will. But you're supposed to be pushing the agenda, the needs, the desires of the government that you represent. And so when you're coming here and Jesus is just like, guys, you didn't choose me, I chose you. And I chose you to go and produce fruit. Now, some of these things in the Bible were very practical examples that Jesus would use because the people there would understand. They were farmers, they were fishermen. So the analogies that he uses, to us sometimes we're just like, okay, I don't know what that means in today's world. But he used simple language that people then could understand. So every so often you have to translate it to 2026 when you're just like, okay, I don't know about fruit. I've never planted a tree in my life. I don't know about animals. Some of you have never even seen an animal outside of pictures or the pets that you have in your house. So some of these things in the Bible don't make any sense to you. So my job here is to help translate this so that we get the lessons without the examples that don't necessarily make sense to us. So let me give you another story. This is Matthew 22, verse 14. In the NLT version, it's a very short verse, and it says, "For many are called, but few are chosen." Turn to the person next to you and ask them, what do you think that means? And you have 30 seconds to say what you think it means. Many are called, but few are chosen. There's a hand at the back. Melty, do you have the roaming mic? Where is the mic? Ray, you can hand the other mic to the back. There's somebody's hand. Many are called, but few are chosen. Right there, the guy with the blue, I can't see his face. I'm just seeing the shirt that is blue.
So my friend said that success is not for the chosen few, but it's for the few who are chosen.
That sounds very deep, but you've just repeated what I said.
Mwambie.
You can't use the same words to define what I've asked. You're supposed to be finding other words to explain what the statement means. It's true, like what you said is true, and it sounds very deep. You should be somewhere on a plaque somewhere, but I don't know if you've explained what it means. Somebody else? Anyone wants to try? Yeah. Regan wants to volunteer someone. Okay, you want to redeem yourself? Or it's your other friend? Okay.
That many can be called to become Christian, but salvation is only for, like, true salvation is only for the few who are actually chosen by God.
That's true. That's actually true. Thank you. Let's appreciate him. Regan owes you lunch. See him after this. Regan is looking at me like, you don't pay me enough for this. So these words are interesting because they come at the end of an interesting passage. So Jesus is talking to people, and he tells them this parable. So he loved talking in stories. And you guys can't relate because I don't know. Do you guys hang out with your grandparents? Older people like stories and analogies, and you're just like, just say what you mean. It takes 2 minutes to say what you mean, but you've talked for 35. Anyway, so Jesus was in a context like that where stories are what he'd use to communicate the message. So he tells this very interesting story that there's this king and he's throwing a wedding party. And he sends out invitations to specific people who are important, so like delegates and ambassadors and like serious people. And then they choose not to show up. So some of them send apologies, some of them are so pissed off at the messengers, they actually beat and kill the messengers. I'm like, this is such a weird story. What does that even mean? And then after that, we have sweets, okay. Yesterday I was told sweets don't actually mean anything, but the fact that somebody gets something for answering a question, you feel motivated to answer the question. Because I'm like, guys, how much are these sweets to Bob? But anyway, so this story is an absurd story, because you're just like, why would you kill a messenger who's coming to invite you for a party? Just say no if you don't want to come. Why do you have to be violent about it? And so it talks about the king came back and he was so pissed because he came back, he's just like, where is everybody? And he's told what happens. And he sends an army to go and kill the people who killed his messengers. And then he sends other messengers out and says, you know what? Go call everyone now. Like, we had called this like dignitaries and serious people, but the audacity, they don't respect me as their king, so go call other people. And so they go and call everyone. They go to the streets and they call random people they meet on the road, and they bring them back. And the king comes and finds, wow, the party is happening, there are all these people, they look like they're having fun. And then he notices one guy who's at the party, but he's not dressed like he needs to be there. And he says, this one, bring him, bind him up, and throw him out into the darkness. And I think the first time I read this story, I'm just like, what? This is such a weird story. I don't think it makes sense. What's the point of it? And then it concludes with, for many are called, but few are chosen. I'm like, what does this even mean? And I don't know about you guys, but for me, the Bible has started making sense after reading it for a while. The first time I read it, I was like, this is some weird stuff. But over time, I start understanding the context. I start understanding the people he was talking to. I start understanding how things made sense back then. And I'm like, okay. So these are the lessons I can derive. The thing doesn't have to make sense to me, but there are lessons here that I can learn. Okay, makes sense. So, but the first time I read this story, I'm like, it's such a ridiculous story. But over time, I started getting why Jesus was talking about this. Now, there are a couple of things that we can learn from this story. The first thing is that God makes an invite, but you have the choice to respond or not. And that's why I told you, you're actually very special. The fact that you have responded to God's call means that you're not everyone else. So God makes an invite. So that's where we can say, oh, God is unfair, that there are people who became Christians, others didn't. God actually makes an invite to everyone. Now, the invite doesn't look the same to everyone. And the reason it doesn't is because how you and I respond to things is not necessarily the same. Bismarck is seated right there. Bismarck, you can wave. He'll be coming here in a few minutes. Bismarck and I are both Christians. We are almost age mates. We love God very seriously. But how God speaks to Bismarck and how God leads him is not the same way that God speaks to me and leads me. Why? Because I'm not him. And so God knows what he will respond to. God knows the gifts that he has. God knows the weaknesses that he has. God knows the family he's from and the experiences he's had. And so what God says to him will be unique to him because God has a different purpose for him than he does for me. So that's what it means that God makes an invitation to everyone. So sometimes you might sit here and you're like, I don't think my friend has gone through 1, 2, 3, 4. Their life is complicated. In that complication, God has made an invitation to them. Your invitation might look like Pst.Jem coming here to tell you what God is saying. The invitation might be they had a dream about something and they knew it was God. But whether they respond to it or not is entirely up to them. Recently, we've been having all these stories of people in Iran who are getting saved. Not because anybody went to preach to them, because most missionaries are afraid of going there because you'll be beheaded, but because Jesus appeared himself. Somebody is asleep and wakes up and says, I saw Jesus in a dream. And so I'm choosing this God because he came to me by himself. So the invitation goes out to everyone. What you do with it is entirely up to you. But the second thing I see is that it's possible to be around God, but not be with God. That's a very sad thing. I think that's a really sad thing for me. That God could be here doing miracles in people's lives, and you're in the same place, but you will never experience any of that. And it's because of the state of your heart and your willingness to hear him and to receive from him. That makes me sad. I'm one of those people, I don't like wasting time. I'm like, the fastest, easiest, most convenient way to achieve something, let's do that. So I'm like, if God is here doing things for people, and me, I'm here struggling, I don't want that. Me, I want these things that God is doing for other people. But more often than not, it's not that God is not willing or God is not able, it's that you're not ready to receive from him. And how do I know this? Because this guy showed up to this party. He got an invitation. He was probably just walking around on the street and he was told, there's a bash happening. It's at the king's house. It's going to be amazing. You show up. But instead of actually going to change, to show up and be ready for the party, he just came the way he was. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The issue is that he took this invitation casually. That's the lesson there. That God has called you, God has chosen you, but you don't realize what kind of privilege you have. And so how you relate to God is, when I show up, I'll show up. How I show up is how I'll show up. You just deal with me the way I am. Yet, this is a king who is calling you, who is entrusting a mission to you and saying, there are other people I could have done this with, but I want Elsie to be the one to come with me. And then you show up and it's like, okay, so God, I'll pray tomorrow, or I'll pray next week, or let me just read this one verse because I feel like Nick will ask me, did I read the Bible? And I need to be able to say yes. And so there's a level of casualness that we approach God with. We don't realize the kind of privilege that we have. And that leads us to the last point, that when you fail to represent the light, you automatically represent the darkness. There's no middle ground. And this is why the king was just like, this dude doesn't look like he wants to be here. He's not dressed for this bash. You know what? Just throw him out, he goes back to where it is that he came from. And so it's possible for you to know God, to decide that you want to trust in God, but you've gotten to a place where you're so comfortable with just being around God, you forgot that you're supposed to be with God on a mission. And so what happens? You're no longer representing this government that you're supposed to be a part of. And what does that mean? You automatically represent something else. When Nick asked me to speak today, he said that the theme for this Bible study, hangout, what else do we call it? I don't know what to call it. This thing that we're doing now was Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 to 16. Let me read it in the NIV version. Let me read it in the NIV version. This is what it says. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Ask your neighbor, are you a light? Do they look like they're a light? The thing about a light is that when light is present, it's obvious that light is present. When there's no light, it's very obvious that there's no light. So ask the person next to you, is it obvious when you're there that there's light? So Jesus says all these amazing things. He says, you're the light of the world, you're a city on a hill. And you're like, wow, that's great. It sounds nice for a slogan if you belong to a team and you're there trying to, we're the lights, let's go. I don't know. Sports analogies. My brain has already wandered off to something different. But what does that have to do with me? Me who is not sure what to do with my own life, what do you mean I'm supposed to be a light? What does that even look like? John chapter 1, verse 1 to 5. I feel like this is the passage of scripture that I struggled to make sense of when I became a new Christian, when I was 17, and I read and I was like, what? It's in English. I understand the individual words. When you put them together, I have no clue what this thing means. And then one day I read it and I'm like, oh my God, that's what it meant. That's how I knew. I was like, hey, I've grown. The fact that this passage of scripture started making sense to me. John chapter 1, verse 1 to 5, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So here John is talking to us about light again. You're like, oh, okay, this sounds similar to what we were told. He talked about we are the light of the world. And then here John says, this light was the light of all mankind. Okay, so who is John talking about here? And John is talking about Jesus. This is the introduction to who Jesus is. Now, when you read this thing for the first time, you're like, in the beginning was the Word. Okay, the Word was with God. The Word was God. What? That sentence does not make any sense. It was a word, it was God, it was with God. What is it? What is this thing? And then it was light, and then it came, and then what is this thing that we're talking about? And then you read a couple of verses later and you realize John is talking about Jesus. And he means that in the beginning, when you go to Genesis 1 and God says, let there be, that let there be that created things is Jesus. Genesis is an interesting book because we have to make sense of God, and we cannot make sense of God because we are human. And so our understanding of anything is so limited, but we're being asked to make sense of this God because He's trying to reveal himself to us. So when God said, let there be, that word, let there be, that happens in Genesis when he's creating everything, that word is Jesus. And it's Jesus who created everything. It's Jesus who took God's word and made it tangible things. And then coming into the New Testament, it's Jesus who moved from heaven as being part of God and came to earth as a tangible human being. So Jesus is a person who makes God real to us. That God is not just a spirit being out there doing things that don't even make sense to us, but a person who can be close to us for us to understand, see, believe in, walk with. And so it calls Jesus the light. So when Jesus again talking to his disciples in Matthew says, you are supposed to be the light, he's pretty much saying, you see this responsibility that God gave me to be light to humanity, I'm giving the same responsibility to you. Now, I don't expect you to die for anyone. I'm going to be the one doing the dying. But I'm calling you to this mission of being light in the world. So we don't have light by ourselves. We are only light to the extent that we are in relation to Jesus. By yourself, you don't have light. By yourself, you have your weaknesses, you have your fears, you have all these things going on in your life. But because of Jesus, then you're able to reflect light. Science class 6, I think it's class 6. I don't know what your curriculum looks like. But when I was in class 6, we were taught that the sun has its own light. The sun produces heat, produces light, produces everything by itself. The moon is a satellite. All it does is just reflect the light and whatever it is it gets from the sun. When the earth comes between the moon and the sun, what happens? There's an eclipse because the moon has no light of its own. That's exactly what this passage is telling us. That Jesus is the light. He's the one with the power, with the ability, with everything that we need. Outside of him, we can't be light because we are human beings with struggles and brokenness and sin. But we can be light to other people to the extent that we are in relationship with Jesus. That's what that means. So what is this mission that we're being called to? When Jesus says, I'm the light, now I'm sending you, you're supposed to be the light. Our mission is very clear. It's to bring light to a dark world. A world with brokenness, a world with sin, a world with pain, a world with suffering. People are supposed to be able to believe and know that there's a God because we're here. For those who are here on Sunday when I was preaching, I talked about salvation, or rather faith. Faith is personal. It's about you and God, but it's not private. It's supposed to be able to bless other people. And that is why when you get saved, you don't just teleport, shoop, and you go to heaven and we keep it moving. You're kept here because there's work for you to do. And so our mission is to bring light into the world. But that means for us to keep getting to know Christ and make him known to other people. That's all that is. That's the mission. To keep getting to know this Christ and to make him known to other people. Because you by yourself cannot heal anyone. But there's a God who can heal someone. You by yourself cannot provide for anyone. You can provide in terms of you work hard for things. But the Bible tells us, even the wealth, it's God who allows you. I think it's a proverb that says it's God who gives you the ability to make wealth. So you could work very hard and never make any money because it's God who gives you the ability to do that. And that's why you can have very Christian people who are poor and people who don't even believe in God who are rich because God decides who he gives this ability to. And so what we're supposed to be doing is knowing Christ and making him known. This is the God who delivers people from anxiety, from depression, from suicidal thoughts, from anything that you think about that is negative, that is hurtful, that is not what God intended for you. Only God can deliver. But he allows you to be the person who helps other people come to him so that he can deliver them, he can bless them, he can restore them, he can heal them. All those things that he wants to do. He could send angels because he can do anything. But he chooses you and me to be the people that he uses. Now that brings us to three things, and this is just the last thing I'll say, and then I'll invite Bismarck to speak on a couple of things that the Lord has put in his heart. If you're a light, the first thing that needs to happen because you're there is that people need to be able to see God. There's a picture of, you can put up the first picture. The picture with the blue. You can put up the first picture. As I'm looking for it. Your life should be a reflection of who God is. That there are people who will never walk into a church. They have their opinions, their biases, their issues with church. They'll never walk into a church. There are people who will never talk to a pastor. They meet me and I say, I'm a pastor, and they've already zoned out because I don't know. They have ideas of what a pastor should be, or they have baggage with the church or whatever it is. But these are people who you associate with on a daily. Does your life make them want to know God? Or does your life take away from them actually finding the God that they desperately need? This is an interesting analogy. The Bible talks about Jesus in many ways. It talks about he's the living water, he's the bread of life. He talks about the many things he says, I am this, I am this, I am this. What do you notice about this picture? Anything that you notice, it's not that complicated. What do you notice? It's a desert. I don't know how to get these seats to you. Nick, do you want to do exercise? I've completed my steps for today. It's a desert. What else do you notice? There's no water. It's a desert. There should not be water. Okay. Somewhere over there. Who said the answer? Didn't? Oh, yeah, she's right there. There's no water. What else do you notice? There's a sign. There's what? There's shrubs, yes, because we're in the desert. What else do you notice? There's a lot of sand. What else do you notice? There are mountains and rocks at the back. What else? There's a road. So it means that people pass here, but this is the desert. What else? The sign itself. Let me ask you, if you are driving on this road, and you've passed through the desert, maybe you've been driving for like an hour, and there's nothing, all you see is sand and shrubs and nothingness. And then all of a sudden you see this sign. What would you do? You'd run. You'd run to find the sign. You'd run towards the sign. What else? You do what? You'd catch up with her. Oh, crash out. I was like, you'd catch up? Because she said she'd run, and then like, you'll catch up with her? Okay, you'll crash out. Yes. You'd be frustrated. Why would you be frustrated? Okay, You'd turn back to go back where you came from. Why? There's no water. What questions would you ask yourself? Where's the water? You'd probably laugh. That's true. I would do the same thing. I would laugh and then take a picture. I hear you. Anyone else? I saw another hand there. This side, anyone wants to add? Okay. What if this sign had an arrow? So it's written water of life, and then there's an arrow pointing to where the water of life is. You'd run and get the water. Who else would do something different? You'd go towards the direction that the arrow is showing. Who else has something else? This picture is supposed to help us understand the fact that we don't have water. In fact, we're all walking in the desert of life together. But we're supposed to be billboards that point people to where the water is. But the assumption is, you know where the water is. So ask your neighbor, do you know where the water is? Because a billboard doesn't represent anything. Think about all the billboards you've passed on your way here. Some of them are just weird. Ignore those ones. If you live around here, you know which billboard I'm talking about. Ignore those ones. But most billboards don't have the thing they're advertising. Do they have it? They just tell you about it. That's exactly what we're supposed to be. We don't have living water. We don't have healing. We don't have power. We don't have ability to cure anything. We don't have... There's so many things that we don't even have light by ourselves. But a billboard's job is to point people to where to get these things. And so you could be a billboard that is just standing there, written water of life, and you don't give anyone any direction to this water of life. They just know that there's water of life, but I don't know how I get to it. Or you could be a billboard that points people to where to find this water. So the first thing is that through you, people need to be able to see God. So how you're living your life, will they come and stop and ask, where is this water? Because you look like you're not thirsty like the rest of us. That sounds very awkward when I say it out loud, because it could mean very many different things. But based on what we're talking about water in the desert. People need to look at you and say, you don't look like you have the same struggles that I have. What is it that you have that I don't have? So is your life a billboard for God's story to be written? Or are you just a billboard there that does not direct people to anything? Because all of us are billboards. What is written and where it directs people is entirely up to us. But all of us are a billboard for something. The second thing is that people should be able to experience God through you. So the first one is that they need to see him. And it's looking at your life and saying, oh, wow, this Christianity thing actually makes sense in 2026 because they see how you live your life. You have a value system. You are going out of your way to be kind, to be loving. You show up to church. You're not struggling with the same things that everybody is struggling with. If you are, then your struggles are looking different just because you have a God who's helping you through whatever struggles that you're going through. But the second thing is to experience God. I want to give you two stories. One is of a gentleman. I think if you come to church here, he's preached here before. His name is James Wanjeri. We started calling him Lawyer James. He said we don't say he's a pastor because he's not a pastor. He's a lawyer. He's actually a really good lawyer. He's in a lot of political things. So he's the lawyer who, if you get arrested during Maandamano, he's the lawyer that you call. Anyway, James has an interesting story, and I'm sharing it because he's shared this publicly, so it's public information. James was brought up by a single mom who was not very well off. So there's Regan, what is that area called where Jemo grew up? I forgot what it is. It's just around Junction. But his mom was single mom, only had one child, and really struggled to raise him. So half the time, school fees was not a thing. She could not afford to keep him in school. And it was so bad that he finished class 8, and he was called to Form 1, and he's really bright. He's a really bright guy. But the mom couldn't afford to take him to Form 1. So because he didn't want to be at home idle, as he's trying to figure out where we're getting money for going to high school, he decided to repeat class 8 again. Just because he was just like, I don't want to be out here. All these people who are idle out here are doing drugs and weird things, and they don't look like they have a direction for their lives. I'd rather be in school, let's repeat the grade, but at least I'm in an environment where there's structure, where there's people offering me guidance and all these things. And then this church, and thank God for Nairobi Chapel, because it gives a lot of people opportunities. We have something called Logos Fund. So it's a fund that we pay school fees for needy children. So he was actually amongst the first group of Logos scholars. And so Nairobi Chapel paid for him to go to high school and then to uni. And of course, now he has his own private practice and is in a great place. And he does the same thing. He gives back to the community because it's just like, if this church had not picked me up where I was, I would not be where it is I am now. And there are two things that stand out about his life. One is that he experienced God because Christians. Because somebody was willing to put money somewhere so that his education can be catered for. But the second thing is that he knows how much privilege he has. And so he goes back and makes sure that nobody else has to struggle the same way he struggled because God has lifted him out of that space. That's what experiencing God is all about. And so when you think about your life, do you live your life in a way that you're just engrossed in this bubble of me, myself, and I? You're the solar system that you're the sun in the solar system that everything revolves around you? Or are you open to the fact that God could use you to help other people experience him? That right now, Jemo's faith is so strong in God because it's just like people who knew God came for me. Now think about somebody who probably has Christians around them, but all they do is like, oh, just pray about it. We're sorry, it's so hard, but you don't go out of your way to help other people. Do you think if you tell that person to get saved, they'll want your God? They'll be like, this God who is standoffish, doesn't care about people's real needs, is just trying to tell you what to do and not to do. But you have an opportunity to help people experience God and know that even in this broken world where things are unfair, where systems don't work, where there's pain and suffering, there's a God somewhere in heaven who wants to know you, who wants to be known by you, who wants to teach you and help you become everything that he created you to be. And this God is still the same God at work. The God who was raising people in the Old Testament, the God who was present with the disciples when they were praying for healing and healings happened, that's the same God that is at work today. But are you available for people to experience that God because of you? Let me share my testimony as well. I am convinced. If it was not for church people, guys, may I'd not be here. There are pastors whose lives were very straightforward. They just loved Jesus, and their lives were straight. And, God called them on a phone call, like, yeah, God, what's up? What's happening? Done. I'll be there. And then there's me. There's me who, there are people who are just like, Jem, you're a pastor. I'm just like, guys, I wasn't that bad. Like, people I went to school with would be like, Jem, you're a pastor. I'm like, yeah, but I was not that bad. I grew up with a dad who was just like, pastors are nice people, they're just not smart. So when you don't have options in your life, you become a pastor. That's what my dad used to say. God forgive him. That's what he used to say. So he's like, yeah, pastors are nice people, but you, my daughter, could be anything. You're an A student, you have gifts, you have talents. Also, I'm your father, so you could be anything. My dad's ego was in a very good place. He was very self-secure. Anyway, so I grew up liking being around God. I was this person in this bush who's around God. I'm not like, I'm not evil completely. Like, I'm around God. I read a verse every so often. I pray. I know I need God in this life, and I know God is real, but I'm not in a space where I want to have God interfere with my affairs. I don't know if anybody feels me. If you feel me, this is your opportunity to look down because I look at you straight in the eyes. But that was me. I'm just like, I go to church. In fact, I volunteer for kids' camps. Like, I do good things. I'm a good person. But I didn't realize that God didn't just want me to be a good person in that I'm trying to stay out of trouble. That God wanted more of me. He wanted people to be able to experience him through me. That it wasn't just about, okay, fine, you'll go to heaven eventually, but while I'm still here, like, there's work for me to do. Now, because he knew me and he knows how hard-headed I am, it took me, I don't know how many years for me to finally accept, fine, I'm going to go to church and be a pastor. I won't make as much money as I'm making now, but I will go because you said. But what God did in his mercy is that every season of my life, he put really serious Christians around me. And not the Christians who are preaching at you, Christians who are actually living what it is that they are saying. And so I experienced God through people so much that I was just like, okay, I kind of want to be this person for someone else. And one of the things that really stands out is when my dad passed away. My dad died when I had not turned 18 yet. I was just 17. And the church was so present. Those guys were in our house every day. And I'm just like, you don't have other things to do. Like, it's the whole week. I'm like, I live here, so I need to be here. And even I was not even fully there. These are stories that I shouldn't be telling you guys. But I didn't want to be around our house that time. I even missed my dad's funeral service. My mom was pissed. I went with my friends for a movie and switched off my phone because I'm just like, I don't want to be here. There's too many people. There's a lot of emotions. Yeah, guys, that's where Jesus got your pastor from. But because Jesus is real, this is why I'm here. So I remember that season thinking, these people are here. I live here and I even don't want to be here. They don't have to be here, but they've come every week. And every day, for that week before his burial. And then after we buried him, we're just like, okay, I guess everybody now moves on with their lives because there's nothing to do anyway. So we buried him, life moves on. They kept coming. And I'm like, ish, you guys either really don't have things to do or you actually genuinely care about us. But you don't know me. Why do you care about me and you don't know me? And that's the first time I experienced God's love through people. And I was just like, hey, okay. Maybe there's something more to this Christianity that is not about me. That it's possible for God to use me to be a blessing to other people. Now, a part of me was just like, okay, let's take a gap year after high school. Let me go to the church and give back. At the back of my mind, it was, let me pay this debt. I feel like I owe you guys. So let me come and volunteer for a year as I do my gap year, and then I go back to my life. I have plans. And that's exactly what I did. And I went to my plans, and I started doing whatever it is I was doing. I was working in the NGO world, and life is going great, and I am making money, and I'm flying everywhere, and God says, you know, I had asked you to come to church to serve. And I was just like, why are you like this? So for a whole year, I was ignoring God, because I'm just like, no. My dad said, and I need to honor the memory of my father, that pastors are not smart. So I have other options. So I can't be in church because I have other options. God, I'm giving to church. Like I send money. I volunteer when I'm around. Like I'm doing things for you. Why do you want everything? Like you just be satisfied with what I'm giving you. Let me tell you how. There are people who God destroys their plans. Me, God allowed my plans to succeed for me to realize that this is not what I want to do with my life. That I was in a conference in Chicago. I don't even know if that hotel is still a big deal. It was called Magnificent Mile in Chicago. And we've done this conference, and I've gotten an award for young leaders in health sector and whatever it is, the work I was doing. And I'm in this room, and I'm just like, oh my God, I am like one of 4 Africans in this whole room, and I'm the youngest person in this room, and this is so cool. And why doesn't it feel the way I thought it's supposed to feel? Because it just felt empty. So after we finished posing for everything, and of course I had to wear a Maasai outfit because, you know, you have to look exotic. So I've taken pictures with everyone. I actually sold everything I was wearing that day. Like, you guys wanted my outfit, so they were buying things off me. And I was like, yeah, this one is $200. I'm like, I bought it at Maasai Market for $150, but $200. Guys just bought my whole outfit. So after I moved from that high of that award and people thinking you're amazing and everything, I go back to my room and I cry. And I'm just like, I've had you, God. I've had you. I'm going to go back to church. So a week later, I quit my job, and I'm in the US wondering what I'm supposed to do with my life. So I stayed for 3 months volunteering in different places. I'm like, let's go feed old people. Let's go, I don't know. Like, I just did random things. Then after 3 months, I'm just like, fine, I'm going to come back to home. And I've accepted to be a pastor. But God, nobody is going to allow me to be a pastor. Like, look at me. That time I had orange hair. I was just going through stuff. So I had a mohawk, and it was orange. Because why not? I need to find, but I can't give Regan these pictures. I don't trust him. But I'll look for these pictures one day. And then show you like this on my phone as you're passing so that nobody has the picture to show later. And I come back, and I'm just like, God, nobody is going to trust that I'm going to be a pastor. I don't look pastoral. And then I was allergic to wearing trousers or dresses. I just used to wear shorts. That was my That was my look. So I said, Sawa, I'm going to go to church. I don't think anybody will listen to me because I don't think I look like a pastor, but okay. So I came to youth church and I started volunteering. That was 2015. And then God just decided, you know what? In fact, you're the right person for this. And many years later, I'm still in youth ministry because God decided that this is where I need to be. There's so many stories I have after that of all the amazing things God has done. Sometimes I'm just like, now you're just showing off. Because I was just like, okay, now I've quit my job. I'll never do anything because I don't have that much money. Then God is just like, you want to travel? Done. Where do you want to go? This is happening here. There's a plane ticket somebody decides to pay for. I've literally been given money by a stranger in town. I needed to go to Germany. And I was just like... You know that when you get to Germany, you need euros. And a stranger in town met my mom. I don't know why she decided to ask my mother for directions. And then my mother, being a nice Christian woman, that she's like, oh, where are you from? Oh, she was waiting for her flight due at what point, but she checked out of the hotel early, and the person she was supposed to meet didn't show up. My mom is just like, come and wait in our house, and then we'll drop you at the airport after. And I'm like, you don't know this person. They could have made up that story. So my mom shows up to our house with a random white lady, and I was just like, okay. And then she spends the afternoon, and we get chatting, and when she's done, she's just like, I feel like God has asked me to give you this money. And she removes money, and it's euros. And she gives me, and she's like, God bless you. We didn't even drop her at the airport, because wherever it is she was supposed to meet ended up calling her, so we dropped her. Was it Westlands? I don't remember, to meet that person. The money she gave me was the exact amount I needed for my trip. So my ticket was paid by somebody who I didn't even ask them to pay for the ticket, but they just called. I was actually called by an airline, and I was told, there's a ticket in your name. When do you want to travel? And I was like, okay, God, now you're just showing off. Because how is this even possible? How do these things make any sense? But then I realized that when you're on mission for God, and this is the first verse that we read in John that talks about, then my Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. When you're on mission for God, He sorts out everything about whatever it is that you need to do. And for some of you, you want to experience miracles. Put yourself in a place where God is working, and you see if you don't see miracles happening. There's a lot of things in my life I still can't explain till today. I'm just like, there's a God in heaven. There are many things I struggle to believe, but whether God is real, I have never struggled to believe because He's done such insane things. I know He's there. And so when I'm talking about experiencing God, you need to first experience God and then go and help people experience Him as well. I've been in spaces where people have been healed of things. I'm just like, me, I can't make sense of this. You had a tumor. There was an nini that showed you had a tumor. No, it's not there. Me, it's not me. I just know I was around the area. I assume it was God. I don't know, but that happened. I don't know. All I know is that if God is working here, I want to be part of it. And I want to be somebody who can help people experience this same God I've experienced and can't explain. But the last thing, the last point, is that through you, people need to be able to know God. Now, knowing God is a lifelong journey. I am definitely not where I was when I got saved, but I'm not where it is that I could be. Because every day if I know things about God, I'm just like, oh my God, can you say that about God? That's so funny, but yeah. Like, that is so cool. Like, you can do that too. I mean, this also is possible. Every other day, I'm just like, wait, okay. You did this, and I thought this was great, but you also did this. Wow, that's really cool. And also this, and also this, and also this. And you can never get to a place where you finish everything that God can do, because God is eternal. He's unlimited. He's without bounds, without end or beginning, without structure or space, or He's not contained in anything. So if you're about to start exploring God, you could go on and you don't even have enough life to keep exploring Him. But as you get to know Him, help other people to get to know Him as well. And that's a simple thing. It's you decide, Nick has shared a verse. just repost it. It doesn't take a lot of things. You read it, you're like, wow, I don't know what this means. It sounds very deep, I don't know. But let me share it to the people who follow me. Maybe somebody will be blessed by it. And I feel like that's one of the things that was the hardest for me to do, to own God to people. I was just like, wait, my friends are not those people that you talk about God with. Now, the interesting thing is that I decided my social media for, I think it was a period, that 2015, after I said, fine, I'm going to become a pastor. I don't think this is a good plan, God, but fine. For like a period of 3 years, every single day, I shared a verse and what I think it means to me, and I posted it. Now, many times, there are times you'll get likes, especially if you have like aunties or people who are following you. So you're like, so by that time it was Facebook. So they're there, they've liked, oh, God bless you. And you're just like, yeah, it was not for you, but I hope someone my age is reading this. Maybe they might be blessed by it. And then life happened, I became busy, I stopped posting. The inboxes I got from people asking me, why did you stop sharing the word? People who I didn't even think read my statuses. Like those, those friends who are just like, this one, unless Jesus steps in himself, this one can never believe in God. Those are the people who are reaching out to me, and they're just like, you kept us sane, you gave us direction, you gave us clarity. I knew that if I log online, I'll find at least a verse from Jem. There's a lot of nonsense on my timeline, but there'll be something positive from you. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I'm actually helping people get to know God. And most of my friends were the people who would never walk into a church because Christians are weird, or just they had biases about Christianity. But I had a social media handle that I could reach people who we don't always have conversations about deep things. Our conversations are about, I don't know, what movie is coming out next, what series are you watching? But just by posting this, somebody could start the journey of getting to know God. And so today, we go back to the verse that you're supposed to be light. You're supposed to be a city on a hill. And through you, people should be able to see God, to experience God, and to know God. Let me invite Bismarck. Bismarck is a very interesting person. You should have a conversation with this guy. There's so many interesting stories he has about God. I'm like, I have faith, but where? God did what? What? Okay, that's insane. So I want Bismarck to come and just speak for a few minutes. Bismarck introduces himself as a missionary. And I'm just like, me, I'm just a pastor. And he's had the privilege of seeing God do some insane things. Insane things here, insane things abroad. His life alone is insane. And like me, he's a person who got destabilized and said, leave your job because I have plans for you. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be exciting. So I wanted him to share a bit about this last part of making God known to people. Maybe you can introduce yourself and say what you do, the organization you're from, and then just tell us what it means to get to help people know God. Because some people look at me like, me, I'm not a pastor. You are doing that because you are a pastor. We don't have to be pastors. He's not a pastor. In fact, he's nowhere close to being a pastor. But he's a billboard for people to get to experience God. So Bismarck, I give you a few minutes, and then we'll just get into a time of prayer and close.
Yeah, let's clap for Pastor Jem. Let's clap for Pastor Jem. Come on, that's how you clap for your Pasi. Amazing. Wow, my heart is pumping. That's when I know I'm talking to kings and queens. You know, you really don't know where you're going to tell these kings and queens, right? Who am I? I'm just an ordinary guy. Thank you so much, Pastor Jem. One thing I've learned from your beautiful sermon was that through you, people should see God. Let's repeat. Tell your neighbor, through you, people should see God. It's three things. I want you to show them by your finger. Number one, see God, experience God, and know God. Yeah, I just want I want you to rate yourself. I want you to take a moment and just reflect on your life. Do people see God in you? You know, if you read the story of Stephen, when he was about to be stoned, when he was talking boldly to the Sanhedrin and the guys who wanted to persecute him, who are asking him questions, his face shone like an angel just because of the boldness he was speaking about. Do you believe that can happen to you? Do you believe? Do you believe? That can happen, guys. How many people here are saved just by the show of your hand? Like Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. Yeah, if you believe that same Jesus is in you, amen? Number 2, people can experience God through you, okay? And number 3, people can know God. As an example, you guys are doing a Bible study. This is one way you are continuing to know God, right? Every Bible study, you're learning a new aspect of who God is. Sindio? Okay. My name's Bismarck. More money. Okay? More money, okay? Yeah, more money. Ni more money, but yeah, it's a kissy name. When you're from where I come from, you say more money, but it's more money if you're a kissy. There's an accent right there. So my name is Bismarck Momanyi. Hey guys, I told you when I'm speaking before kings and queens, it gets hot. I'm a rider, so that's why I have so many jackets on me. So my name is Bismarck Momanyi. I'm a full-time missionary with an organization called Circuit Riders. How many people know Circuit Riders? For real? Do you? How do you know Circuit Riders? Sorry? Okay, so you're famous, huh? Okay, so Circuit Riders is a ministry under Youth with a Mission. How many people know Youth with a Mission? YWAM. So Rev Bella went through the YWAM. So YWAM is the largest mission sending organization for young people. The founder of YWAM is called Lauren Cunningham. You can go check him out. He had this vision where God was showing him that there was a wave, like tsunami waves of young people going into different parts of the world, taking the message of Jesus. Just young people like you and me. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, guys. I'm youngish, okay? I'm in my Jesus years. I'm 33 years old, okay? If you want to know how Jesus looks like, if you see me, you see Jesus. You see, we say people should see God in you. Eh? Jesus died at 33, okay? So, if you've never seen Jesus, he was made in the image of Jesus, of God. People should see. Look at your neighbor. Do you see Jesus in them? So I say,